Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to make a white-tailed jay mask for reaching 30k on YouTube. I got this new spinny organizer thing that I just want to show off real quick. Anyways, for this tutorial you'll be needing a cat mask base, felt, elastic, and a lot of EVA foam scraps. You will also be needing scissors and hot glue gun. Okay, let's start. First you're going to want to cut the ears off the mask like this. Here's how it should look. After that, trace the empty area out onto a piece of 4mm EVA foam with a pencil. Then cut it out, make sure it fits onto the mask, and then glue it on. After that, just cut off the part that's hanging off the mask. Here's how it should look so far. Next, trace the mask's eye shape onto a piece of 2mm EVA foam, then draw the eye shape you want for the mask. This is the shape I'm doing. After that, cut it out and glue it on. Now do the other eye. Since I'm off the thicker foam I usually use for this snout, I'm going to be gluing together two thinner pieces of foam to make one bigger one. You can do this at home if you only have or are out of 6mm foam. And boom, now I have 8mm foam. Glue down the foam where I have it outlined on the mask. The foam tends to not stick very well on this part, so hold it down for at least a minute. Next, put a cut into the foam. We're going to fold this together to make the snout. After that, glue both sides together and hold it for at least another minute. Cut off this bit, glue it again, and then hold it for another minute. Once dried, we're going to cut the snout. Here I have where I outlined where I'm going to cut. I also accidentally cut it off camera, but here's how it should look. Next, cut off the tip part. And here's how it should look so far. Next, glue a piece of 4mm EVA foam onto the mask. Here's how it should look. Remember to also trim the edges of it. Next, glue two pieces of 4mm EVA foam that's shaped like this onto the snout. Here's what it should look like so far. After that, cut out the original snout from the mask. Next, glue the elastic on. Next, flip the elastic over the front of the mask because we're going to be felting the back of it. On the back, I've sketched out a pattern of where I'm going to glue the felt on. I've also numbered them, so if you want to copy me, just screenshot this frame. Remember to stretch the felt as we glue it on, as it helps prevent wrinkles. Here's how it should look once you've glued it down. Next, just cut the extra felt off. After that, make some cuts in the felt all the way around the mask so that you can glue it down. Here's what it should look like once it's been all glued down. Next, poke a hole into the eye so that you can make more cuts to be able to glue it down. Here's what it should look like. Now just glue it down. Here's what it should look like once done, and now just do the other eye. After that, trace the ear shape onto a piece of 4mm EVA foam. If you're copying exactly what I'm doing, make the ear shape more like this picture. I ended up messing up and had to glue more foam onto the right of it. Anyways, once you trace it, cut it out and glue it onto the mask. Now just do the other ear. Here's how it should look. You can see right here where I messed up and had to add more foam. You don't have to do this part, but next we're going to be making antlers. For this step, you'll need some wire and some scary looking tools. First, make the base shape of the antlers with some wire. I'm making mine kind of small, but you can make yours however big you want. Now just wrap them all together. After that, wrap some wire around it so it can be more stable, if that makes sense. Next, wrap them both in a layer of foil to build them up more. Get a piece of 4mm EVA foam that's kind of shaped like this, then kind of wrap it around the antler to glue it down. Now just do the other antler. Now the base is done. Next we're going to glue the fur on. On the screen, I have a pattern on how you should glue on the fur. I start in the middle and then slowly glue down the sides and strips. I recommend following it for best results. Once you've done that, take some of the extra fur and flip it around to the back of the mask and glue it onto the ears. If this part is too confusing, you can also just glue a separate piece of fur onto it. Like we did earlier, instead of gluing the entire thing on at once, glue on the fur in strips. Remember to also stretch the fur while we're doing this so that the fur doesn't wrinkle up, kind of like felt. Next, cut off the extra fur in the back. Next, we're going to be cutting the fur. For the snout part, brush all the fur down and cut the part that's hanging out. Once you've done that, brush it all out. Now we're going to be pulling up the fur in sections like this and cutting it off at an angle, leaving it shorter towards the snout and longer towards the back. Once you've done that all the way around the mask, here's how it should look. Next, like earlier with the felt, poke holes into the eyes and then cut sections to glue down. Cut off the extra fur that's pulled through and then pull more fur through the eyes to cut, if that makes sense. Next, put the scissors through the eyes and then cut the fur from there. Like earlier, pull up sections of fur around the eyes and cut those at an angle as well. Here's what it should look like once done. Now just do the other side. Next, we're going to be gluing fur into the ears. First glue it onto the base of the ear and then the rest of it. After that, cut the extra fur off. Next, glue both sides of the fur together. Do this all the way around the ear. Remember to fully cut off the fur on the base though and glue it down. Once you've done that, cut the extra part off. Now we're cutting the fur. On the back of the ear, brush all the fur to one side and cut it off. Now brush it to the other side and cut it off. Again, like earlier, pull up the fur in sections and cut it off, leaving it shorter towards the top and longer towards the bottom. Once you've done that, use something like a pencil to separate the fur from the edge of the ear from the rest of the ear. Do this all the way around the ear. Next, cut off all the fur from the middle section of the ear. Next, brush all the fur down on the right side and cut it off. Once you've done that, pull up the fur from the other side of the ear and cut it at an angle, leaving it shorter towards the top of the ear and longer towards the bottom. Here's how it should look once it's done. Now just do this on the other side. Next, cut out a felt circle and glue it onto the back of the mask to cover up where we glued the fur down. Here I'm just gluing the part I missed. Now cut off the extra that's blocking the mask's vision. And here's how it should look once this step is done. Now we're going to add the clay onto the mask. First, I'm going to add the nose. For this, I put a bit of hot glue onto the snout, then added the clay and sculpted. This took me a ridiculous amount of time to get done. This clip is sped up the fastest CapCut will allow, and it's still like 16 seconds long. Anyways, here's how it should look once it's done. Next, wrap some clay around the antlers to round them out. After that, add some details into them like lines and stuff. Now do the other one. Make sure that the clay is completely dry before you start painting. If you paint over it while it's wet, it can come out deformed. I learned that the hard way. Anyways, on the painting. For this section, I'm not going to be giving too much detail as it's pretty straightforward. I recommend having at least 4 to 5 reference photos to look at while painting. Here's some ones I use for this. You can use them as well if you're copying what I'm doing. I also did this on my stream, so if you want more detail about this step, you can go rewatch those on my channel. For the paint, I use Acrylic, aka dollar store paint, but any acrylic paint works. I also mix it with a bit of fabric softener. I noticed it makes the paint a little less crusty when it dries. Usually 3/4 paint and 1/4 fabric softener works best. My camera also died mid-filming on this step, so you can just rewatch what I did on my stream if you want to see the whole thing. I'd also like to mention that you should let your mask dry for at least 24 hours once it's finished being painted. Anyways, here's how it should look once completely painted and dried. Next, we're gonna brush it out. Once your mask is dried, it's normal for it to be slightly crusty, but brushing out the cat or dog brush fluffs it up. Here's how it looks once it's all brushed out. Next, we're gonna add Mod Podge to the nose and antlers. This seals the paint and makes it look nice. I actually use the matte version of the Mod Podge because I think it looks to make it realistic, but you can use the gloss version too if you'd like. I'm actually using the no gloss one here because I ran out of the matte one. If you don't have Mod Podge, Elmer's glue works just as well. Anyways, here's how it looks once it's dried. This part is completely optional, but if you'd like to make your mask look more realistic, you can use a thumbtack to poke some holes into the nose. I actually used to do this when I first started, but then stopped after a while because I thought it was too time consuming, but now I'm doing it again. Here's how it should look once you've done this part. And now the mask is completely finished. I think it turned out pretty cool. Off camera, I also added a sponge to the inside of the mask to make it more comfortable. You can do this too if you'd like. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any other mask ideas, comment them down below. If you enjoyed this video or thought it was helpful, be sure to leave a like. It boosts the video and helps out the channel. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.